All right, so what's going on at Florida with Billy Napier? It was such a busy week last week and 2 weeks ago when Billy Napier was hired at Florida. I never really got a shot to talk about what I thought about his hire, but now we're a couple of weeks into this thing, and um, I'm not saying I'm speechless necessarily. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't make that mistake, but it is curious to see the movement in Gainesville amongst recruits. I mean, right now, publicly, there are 7 kids committed to Florida. They're in the 70s in recruiting rankings. I think there's going to be a lot of a lot of makeup that's going to have to happen quick here for the Gators. In the last, you know, this month in December, there have been one, two, three, four, uh, let's just call it 5 decommitments since Dan Mullen's been gone, and several of those are sort of solid players in the grand scheme of things. Isaiah Bond, obviously from Buford, a guy that was did not decommit in December. Jaden Gibson from West Orange, which is kind of Orlando area. Nick Evers, which is a quarterback that was committed to the Gators. He is decommitted here lately this past week. Chandler Smith uh, from Mount Dora, Florida, uh, a receiver who is decommitted. They've got a transfer coming out of the program. Their best receiver in terms of production, Francois Knowlton, who is from Miami. These guys have all exited the program of late, and it's. I mean, I don't know. After a while, they've had 6 players leave through the portal since the season's ended at Florida, and I think it's hard to know totally where Florida's going from here, um, because I don't think there's any question that Billy Napier is going to want to do what he wants to do, has a particular style in mind of the type of player that he wants. I think my question about all of this is, are they like you need to sign some people. I mean that's something that you need to do. You can't you can't have a class of 15 players at Florida because you will have flushed this entire signing day period. There's this signing period away. There's not going to be good enough players in the second signing period. So it was curious to me that Florida settled on, and I don't mean settled, but like they established that they wanted Billy Napier, who we can't know if he's going to be successful or not. He certainly spent time at Clemson, and people are talking about that. Spent time at Alabama when they were very successful. I think he was at Florida State for a minute there too, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a so he's had time with good programs. The time he was at Florida State was a tight ends coach. They won the national championship that year. But when he was at Clemson, they were not good, and he was not a fit for Clemson at that time. And he was let go. It was a decision that Dabo had to make, and I mean clearly it was the correct one. He was at Alabama in 11. He was at Alabama from 13 to 16 as a wide receivers coach. He's been known as a very tenacious recruiter, but starts can really be important to careers. And with Kirby, what happened in 2016? Well, the 16 signing class was there was a lot. First of all, Kirby had, if I'm not mistaken, all the way until February to get stuff right, and I feel like he did in that 16 season. That was Georgia's worst recruiting effort um, in Kirby's time, and folks were really in a concern that he was not recruiting the right player for that season. But in that class was Jacob. I should say full names, not just not just the players, but Jacob Eason. Um, Isaac Nada was in that class. That was not a bad class at all. Miko Hardman, Isaac Nada, Ben Cleveland, Julian Rochester, who is still on the team, Mikael Carter, Charlie Warner, Elijah Holyfield. They had some Riley Ridley, Tyler Clark. There were some good players on that team. David Marshall, Brian Herrien, Solomon Kinley, Tyreek McGee. These were guys that went on to play and play for a while for Georgia. Um, but if I'm not mistaken, they got to get that all the way through February. Uh, Billy Napier doesn't have that luxury. I mean, he has been thrown in the middle of it. We are about 5 days, well, about 4 days from signing day, and he's got 7 kids publicly committed. That's not going to work. That means to me, you need to add about 18 to 20 guys in the next 4 days or whatever it is. That's not going to happen. So you can't get so um, you know, fixated on that one thing, but like right this second, that is not going well for the Gators. Now, with that said, um, Billy Napier has proven in his time at Louisiana that he understands how to win, and that's probably the biggest thing that you're looking at. 11-3 and 19, 10-1 last year, and then 12-1 in 2021. We can't know totally what's going to happen here. The move from Louisiana to Florida, that this is not an easy job, and you know I think they moved on from Dan Mullen too quick. I don't know that it was not repairable with him, but it was something needed to change. Well, the decision was made that he was the one that needed to go. But I think that in the middle of all of that chaos, something could have calmed this whole thing down. It just never happened at Florida. For Napier now to come in, this is another coach who is being elevated from a program that is obviously not SEC level. When Steve Spurrier came in from Duke, it was the obvious hire. I think Urban Meyer was not an obvious hire, but the president who was at Florida had been with Urban at Utah, saw them win the Fiesta Bowl. This was a whole, they knew what they were getting into with that. With Napier, time's going to tell. We don't know, and you're in a position now with even when they hired Billy Napier, we didn't know that Mario Cristobal was coming to Miami. That's going to make this a harder job for the Gators for sure. Because in a vacuum of the last 15 years or so, Florida has been able to be successful because, for the most part, Florida State and Miami have not been. Certainly, Miami has not been. Florida State's won a national championship in that time, but that was a 2-year period where they were, I would say very good. And other than that, they have been, not well, it's not been great at Florida State over the last 15 years. I don't think anybody would act like it has been. They had a great moment in time, and then that went away. So I don't know if Florida State's a real big problem. Georgia is. Miami is an issue on the recruiting trail. Obviously, you're still dealing with LSU, who has made a change. You're always going to have to play those 3 teams if you're the Gators. And it starts with beating Georgia, something that has not happened a lot lately. Certainly since Kirby Smart's second year on, Georgia's won all but one of those games. And so for Billy Napier, I think to me, the immediate thing is you've got to stop the hemorrhaging with the recruiting. I mean, because this has major implications. You can't give away classes. It has major implications moving forward. That's a real problem. Step one. I would deal with that right now. And I don't know if they can right this second. That's a real problem for Napier and company. Secondly, you obviously you got to have a good first season, and I we can't know what the future will hold for Florida, but I would imagine. I mean, they're hosting Utah in the first game. They're not going to be major favorites if they're favorites in that game at all. I mean, Utah could come and go and win the Rose Bowl in a couple of weeks. So you got the Utah game and then Kentucky. I mean, I, I, I don't know if they're going to be favored against Kentucky. So the start of the season is rough, and then in the middle part, you have 3 teams that the Gators have struggled with lately: Missouri, LSU, and Georgia, back to back to back. And on top of that, then you're going to play Texas A&M at the end. It's a tough schedule to get into, but at least you're not dealing, with Miami being good yet. Mario Cristobal should make Miami good. That's not good for Florida, and I don't know what the future holds for Billy Napier. I wonder if it's the right fit. I wonder if I mean, Dan Mullen not working out there is an indictment to me of Florida more than it is of Dan Mullen. Um, this is a guy that took you to the Orange Bowl, the Peach Bowl, and the Cotton Bowl, and they won two of those. And Florida hasn't had that sort of success since Urban was there. Let's call it what it is. They've not had the success that they wanted. So where this will wind up for Billy Napier and company, I don't know. We'll see you over on dogpost.com. Thanks for watching.